So we have these tweets. Matt, this is, I don't know who this person is, Beth Davidson, seemingly nobody, but she must be at the convention. She says, fam, Matt Walsh is at the Democrat convention posing as a delegate. Do not talk to him. Call him out. Tell security if you can. Please reshare to spread the word. He's got credentials.
Hashtag hate monger.
He got in. Keith Olbermann says, we knew it was Matt Walsh because he covered up his 5 head. This dude says, yo, that's Matt Walsh in disguise on the convention floor. He's got a pass.
Yeah, what do they think is going to happen if there's a Republican in their midst?
Charlie Kirk is walking around.
He's chilling,
panicking,
listening to people, having a decent conversation.
Here's the crazy thing about this. Charlie Kirk is there. He's talking to people. A lot of people are yelling at him, which is nuts. But how come this didn't happen at the RNC?
Right.
No, like not only do we have the riots outside, and it's low tier stuff, but they did tear down the barricades and breach the perimeter, so I'm calling that a riot. And protests and clashes, 13 arrests. At the RNC, you had none of this. You had a light protest. Nothing really happened. There may have been arrests. I don't know. Nothing was really eventful, and no one really cared about it. I walked past it, and nothing seemed to, I don't know, nobody said anything to me. At the RNC, there were no, I didn't see any crazy Democrats running around. Nobody was screaming at anybody. Cenk Uygur in 2016 Jimmy Dore spat on Alex Jones. There was that kind of stuff. I didn't see anything at the RNC. Liberals didn't show up to question Republicans. Nothing that I saw.
I think it's because this sect of people that are supporting the Democratic Party feel as though they've been fortified, that their system is fortified and ready to win. They're a cult. They're not in to try and mess with the other. They don't feel like they need to. They feel like they've got it in the bag, maybe.
I think it's that they don't want to hear what's going on at the RNC. They want to hear it through the lens of the media, and they don't want to be in the presence of hate or whatever. Whereas, conservatives actually find it. They've seen a lot of success by going inside, events that are not typically open to them. I'm thinking of, the family friendly, quote unquote, drag performances, and you'll get these on the ground reportings where it's like, is this what you're describing as family friendly?
The more they see.
Yeah, I think it's this is why I don't call it the left and the right at all. I don't feel like it's even. I feel like I'm interested in knowing what is really happening, so I want to investigate the empire and the imperial strategy, and that leads me towards investigating the Democratic Party and what the hell is going on with this American arm of the the Western Empire.
There's a video. You can see Matt Walsh right here with his little red hat walking around.
He posts some of the most what would you call it, scathing stuff on Twitter where I'm like,
there he is.
Where I'm like, I don't, like he'll post stuff on Twitter and I'm like, I don't want to read it, I don't want to look at it, but he constantly makes me love the man. I love him.
Wait, is the camera panning to try and get Matt Walsh again?
No, I think they're trying to get him out of the shot.
Gets the blame for a lot of things he does do. He's lost his bearings, as we can see.
So subtle.
It's funny because he's there officially, I bet. Daily Wire applied for credentials. They said yes, same as Charlie Kirk. He showed up dressed like that, and now they're all losing their minds.
And you have to hand it to Matt Walsh. This is obviously promotional for his new movie. This is hilarious marketing, right? Like, he's not even there necessarily to change any hearts and minds. He's there to sort of be himself, and they're freaking out about it.
Like Borat.
Well, it is because it does look like a costume too. Like if I saw that person, I'd be like, that person doesn't look right to me. Like,
well, his hat is elevated over his wig. It's not really fitting correctly.
Okay, so now I definitely wish I was there after seeing this. I'm like, okay, that would have been fun. But I don't want to be anywhere near outside, and getting to and from seems crazy. So no DNC for us.
Probably would have been really cool now in retrospect. Charlie Kirk's a master, man, and I think his history will look back on him fondly for his reaching across the aisle and his consistent olive branches that he's willing to offer.
Maybe it doesn't turn out so bad, but I'm still worried about the riots. There's Democrats getting hotels and fake names. The amount of security stuff we had to have done is just, I just didn't find it to be worth it to go to the DNC. In Chicago, of all places, dude. You get shot in Chicago and they say just another weekend.
What did you guys think of the RNC? I didn't
Boring.
know, but was it?
Oh, I thought it was interesting. I mean, the hard thing about doing IRL is that we're working when a lot of the speeches are going on. But I think there was a lot of really interesting energy. One of the critiques one of the analysis that I was listening to of the DNC today was they had Steve Kerr, I think is his name. He's the coach who coached the
Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, and he was just at the Olympics with the Team USA. And they had him up, and they're saying, I was listening to this New York Times analysis, and they were like, yeah, because Democrats feel like the Republicans have really taken control of red, white, and blue, and they're trying to offer their own version of patriotism, which means that really the RNC set the tone, and in so many ways the DNC is responding to them. I mean, Trump tweeted that thing where he's like, this is how many times they mentioned my name last night. It really is. Everybody is, Trump is really in charge of this election in a way that I don't think Harris is. She is a response to the Trump campaign always. She is never leading any policy here.
Let me say this really quick. I saw this one video of Kamala where a reporter challenged her and she was like, do you want Trump to win? She got really mad.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that? That was crazy. And it was the only time I've seen her get upset so far. I haven't watched a lot of it, but it was very obvious that she doesn't want to be challenged. Don't challenge the royalty right now. We just need to
and what is that saying? Do you want this terrible person to win? That means you're a bad person. That's how she's shutting people down. That's not effective. Sorry, you're going to say something?
No, it's okay. I was just going to say I kind of feel the opposite of the way that you feel in terms of them controlling the tone and whatnot. Because if you remember, the RNC happened so shortly after Trump got shot. In fact, I think it was the first time we saw him after he got shot. And the Democrats now, I think in retrospect, it was tactical. I mean, of course, nothing they do is sincere. But at the time, they were kind of playing this game let's all take the volume down a little bit. And let's turn things down, turn down the heat. And then Trump came out and I don't feel like we strategized well about what our message was going to be after Trump got assassinated. I think there were a lot of opportunities there that were absolutely missed. And he came out and he had this kind of docile, very sort of soft, gentle tone. And the Democrats were keeping that too. But then it's as soon as we got through that, they started pouncing again. And now they're right back to the same rhetoric. I mean, from the speeches that I saw that happened last night, I caught clips. I mean, they're back to saying, what a dangerous threat he is to America and that he must be neutralized. He must be. So, I mean, we're right back to, and I feel like they are controlling the tone. And I feel like we missed our opportunity.
I think that they do have a strong, they have pivoted really well. As soon as they dropped Biden and they were we're rolling out this prosecutor and he's a felon, they did go back on the attack. I actually am not sure all Americans appreciate that. I think a lot of people are still thinking about the assassination attempt and think that there's sort of a gravity there. But, it is fascinating to me that there was a USA chant there. And that's actually, to me, Republicans are the patriotic party right now. I don't think that was always true. I think there was a time when, Democrats and Republicans had a lot more in common. But, in our modern day era, it's just not the same thing.
Right.
And I think that all of this, this whole moment in time for them is not possible without Trump. Whereas, and I get what you mean, Trump did come out a little bit softer. He seemed he was a little more emotional, a little more reflective. But he had said, I'm not going to mention Biden during this speech. He said his name one time. And a lot of people followed suit. I do think that if Trump weren't in this election for whatever reason, not because of the assassination, because he wasn't eligible to run or something like that, I don't know what the Democrats would do without him. I don't think that they have a strategy other than panic about Trump. And it's interesting to see every time the Republicans offer up a policy, it's just like the Trump Vance campaign, we still don't get anything from Harris unless it's sort of I'm also not going to tax tips or
copying.
You say $5,000, JD Vance, for parents with young children. Well, I say $6,000. It is very much following the Trump Vance campaign.
100%. And to your point about them chanting USA and it being kind of bizarre and disingenuous and stuff, I mean, I've actually questioned recently if this is a giant psyop that they're really appropriating our culture. I don't know if you're noticing this. Overnight, they are. Overnight, she's doing Trump rallies. Overnight, they're chanting USA. They're chanting lock him up.
No tax on tips.
Yeah. His policies. And I'm are they trying to drive us insane? Out of one side of the mouth.
They can see what's working and they're we're going to do that now.
Yeah. But either way, it's all theater. I mean, it's completely fake.
It's smart. They know that their cult will vote for them no matter what. And so steal the policies of the right and try and get as many moderates as possible.
I'm sorry.
No, I agree with you. I think that there is a posturing for moderates, but it's interesting that they're not offering anything new. They're copying Trump. And again, that just to me says that he lives rent-free in everybody's brains, and he will do until he can't run for president anymore.
I'm going to stress it. They are evil people. You want an example? Joe Biden leading with the very fine people hoax. After 7 years, we know it's not true. Listen to the full C-SPAN interview Trump gave, and it was comprehensive, intelligent, and measured. Trump's response could not have been more perfect. He said there were bad people in the masks, there were neo-Nazis, they were bad people, and there were some people who got a permit. They wanted to protest. They were angry that the statue was coming down. And that's fine. They're allowed to do it. They have the First Amendment. But there were bad people on both sides. There were some good people on both sides. he actually didn't just say one simple sentence. He actually said, I saw the same videos. We know what happened. Bad actors are ruining this stuff. And he said, if you would report this accurately, people would know. And what did they do? They lied. Trump asked them to report it accurately, and they lied. And Biden, to this day, spits on the face of every single one of these voters, and they bask in it.
Can you tell me really fast what that is, that hoax? Because I have not looked into the
in
very
Charlottesville,
fine people. Yeah.
There was a statue that was going to be pulled down by protesters. There were counter-protesters saying, do not pull down the statue. They were going to rename a park. It was Robert E. Lee Park or something like this in the statue. The far left wanted to tear it down. There were people on the right who didn't want it. Then you had Antifa show up, and then you had white nationalists show up. There was a massive clash. People started fighting. Fighting broke out, and it resulted in a guy in a car driving into a crowd of people, killing a woman, and this is the Charlottesville moment. Donald Trump gave a press conference right afterwards and said, you had a lot of bad people there. They were bad people on both sides. You had the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists. You had the left with the wearing all black with baseball bats. Did you see them? And he said, but you also had some very fine people. On both sides. Some who were protesting a statue coming down. And they had a permit, by the way. And they have a First Amendment right to peacefully, the right way, protest this. And then someone then asks him a question. And he says, no, I am not talking. He says they were very fine. Someone goes, you're saying there's very fine people? Literally asks him. In the neo-Nazis, he goes, no. I'm saying there were people there with a permit to protest. I am not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists. They should be condemned totally.
Oh, man. And then they kept running that he called the neo-Nazis very fine people.
Right. Or the animals quote. He called immigrants animals.
Yeah.
He literally was talking about drug-dealing, child trafficking murderers. And he says, these people killing children, they're not people, they're animals. And they went, oh, and they cut him going, they're not people, they're animals. That's the only thing.
MS-13. He was talking about MS-13.
And also, we're all animals. Like, come on, get over it,
Yeah, but you get the point.
Yeah.
He was saying that the cartels who traffic children are animals, who kill people and murder them.
It's really fascinating
They lied.
to be paying attention, to see it happening in real time, like the manipulation. Like Goebbels, the Nazi propagandist, would be like, you just tell them a lie over enough times and people will believe it.
Goebbels would be sitting here clapping for the Democrats, being like, wow. Look how long they've maintained this. And here's an important thing to understand. They say that every 7 years, every cell in your body has been replaced, right? Like the ship of Theseus, you're a new person. Democrats live in a world now where it has been, 9 years of lies about Donald Trump. Every fiber of their being at this point is composed of fake information. Their entire worldview crafted off of high-level propagandistic manipulation from the Democratic Party. It's the only thing they know.
Assisted by the media. Very few mainstream media outlets covered the fact that during Biden's speech, there was a banner dropped down that said, stop funding Israel or something like that. That's a pro-Palestine or at least anti-Israel sentiment. And very few mainstream media outlets that I have seen talked about the fact that there's a Native Americans rights group that has allied themselves with the pro-Palestinian people saying, this land, the DNC is operating on stolen land, and therefore we protest this and we stand with people in Palestine who are having, their land stolen or, whatever the sentiment is. It's fascinating to me that they completely block out any discord within their own party, meaning that they don't want the average leans left, not super political voter to know, hey, actually we have tons of chaos and people within your own party think we might be the ethical wrong.
This is the challenge right now with Trump sycophants and the unwillingness or the inability of Trump's campaign to call up the surrogates and tell them to shut the living F up when they attack moderates. Because I just watched a clip, as I mentioned earlier, from Joe Rogan's show, where he's like, it's all tribalism, it's my team, it's your team. It isn't, but Joe doesn't live in the same political world entrenched like we do. That's why he says, I don't know, talk to Dave Smith, I'm not a political guy. Joe certainly knows more than most people when he calls out the weird absurdities of the media. But when Trump sycophants attack Joe, he just immediately backs away and says, guys, you're all nuts. The reality is Trump's imperfect. Of course he is. The Republicans suck. Of course they do. But we really are looking at a party that has been lying, cheating, and stealing for who knows how long, but it's been particularly bad in the past decade. And we are in desperate need of some accountability and a functioning government to probably criminally charge those who have broken the law. You can't really go after the media for lying. You're allowed to. It's the First Amendment. But we need accountability. We need good governance. We need to fire those in the entrenched bureaucracy. And so when Trump's sycophants attack moderates, you lose support. And this is the most frustrating thing right now.
And the lying and the cheating, was before the Democratic Party, like in 2011. It was the Republican Party with the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, like the imperialists that wanted to conquer.
And Trump isn't that party, and they hate him.
He's an outsider.
And that's why when Trump got elected, you had the Republican Party with, what's his face? Paul Ryan. And I think it was in the time, Boehner. They did not like Donald Trump. They actually worked with Democrats on the Russiagate hoax when Trump got in 2017. And then in 2018, we saw a little bit of a change, kind of. Democrats, I think in 2018, Democrats came back into Congress. So the Republicans had Congress for that first year of Trump's term. They did nothing. And look where we are now. So I don't care if the Republican Party in 2000s I thought was trash. Barack Obama turned out to be trash. The Democrats are trash. And then Trump and Bernie came in. Bernie lost. Trump represented populism and what people don't want war. They don't want these garbage trade agreements. Trump came in. Civil war in the Republican Party, still sort of going on, and I'll take it. My point with Joe is I should be able to have a conversation with someone like Joe and have him just be like, dude, I get it, man. You know, there's no one else to vote for. Instead, Trump's cult, and I'm not saying everyone in sports Trump is a cult. I'm saying these diehard lunatics push even him away.
No, I get it. I totally get it. And I think that sect of his base, that it's the constant loyalty tests and purity tests, and that if you dare to ask any questions or express anything that you might, have a question about or you're dissatisfied with it, and then suddenly everybody's turning on you. You're not like a real Trump supporter. This happened to me.
It's wokeness. It's the same thing.
It's totally the same. It's what
cancel culture garbage.
It's what pushed me away from the Democratic Party when I'm not allowed to ask questions and think for myself. And Vivek's campaign, when he was still running, did a really great thing. They started reaching out to influencers, which I wish Trump's campaign would do more of. But they had reached out to me and said, you want to spend the day with Vivek on the bus, get to know him better, ask him questions, interview him. I was like, of course I'm going to say yes. And I knew at that time I was planning to support Trump, but I wanted, of course I'm going to say yes to the opportunity to get to know the guy. Spent the day with Vivek, had a great day, interviewed him on camera, put it out there, and people started getting really angry at me because I spent the day with Vivek. And I'm like, yeah, but I had a great time. I really, and then very shortly after that, it was right before the Iowa caucus. Vivek did better than people expected. And Trump basically, in typical Trump fashion, put out a comment like, Vivek's not really one of us. He's not MAGA. I had all of these people attacking me because I had spent the day with Vivek before Trump said that. And like people unfollowing me and stuff. And then Vivek dropped out. And then like 2 days later, Trump was like, just kidding. Vivek's awesome. And then, but that drove me nuts. I was like, this feels exactly like why I left the left.
It's cancel culture.
Yeah.
It is the pile on, fall in line, or else. And I think it's important that Trump's most ardent base recognize they win by alliances with moderates. And if you want to play these games where you insult the moderates, you're going to lose. Because there's a lot of people vote emotionally. That's what the Democrats have proven. And we're trying to convince as many middle-of-the-road people that, man, it's life or death. I mean, look, I got to be honest. Even if Trump wins, there's no guarantee that we're going to actually get a functional vote count or anything like that. Who knows what's going to happen January 6, 2025? Because Kamala is going to be counting she's going to be counting the electors, and Congress has. Jamie Raskin's already said they're going to block Trump if he does win. Biden claims he's going to block. He's going to try and take power even if he loses. And so my point ultimately is this: I shouldn't be listening to Joe Rogan, who correctly calls out Fauci, who correctly calls out the Democrat installing Kamala, who then says, yeah, but they're all just my team, this team, that team, whatever, man. It's because they attack him. He's a regular guy. He's not focused on politics. He's a very, very smart guy. As much as he likes to say, like, I'm just some dumb podcaster, the dude's a genius. But this is not his world. His world is comedy. So when he wakes up one day and he's getting Trump tweeting at him that they're going to boo him at UFC, he's like, these people are nuts. And he's not wrong, but Trump still has to win. And that's the unfortunate thing. It should be easy for me to go to someone who's like, man, I don't like Trump's people. And I'm like, I know, but you got to vote for him because because you're looking at the Democrats and and it should be as simple like, I get it. The Mises Caucus people, who was it? Jeremy Kauffman? Is that his name? I'm getting his name right?
Jeremy Kauffman.
He held up the sign saying MAGA equals socialism at the Libertarian Party. He doesn't want to vote for Donald Trump. And then once Chase Oliver gets nominated, he says, I guess I'm voting for Donald Trump because I'm not going to vote for a race communist or whatever. And I'm like, see, that's reality. it sucks, but we really are in a no, dude. Most elections, I'd have no problem being a libertarian. I don't care, two-party, whatever. But now it really is hyper-polarized to an extreme degree. The Republican Party, you vote for your candidate, then there's a brutal friends become enemies, and then afterwards, enemies are still friends are not enemies again. Friendships were lost in that primary battle with DeSantis and Trump. But a vote was had, and a lot of DeSantis supporters came around and said, "Okay, fine, I'll vote for Trump, but I'm mad at you guys and I hate this." And I'm like, well, that's how it goes. The Democrats installed Kamala and said, join or else. And they're cheering for a woman who has no campaign.
Yep.
She has no policies, no positions, and they're cheering for it. There's a couple. She's supporting the tax thing from Joe Biden. And she said no taxes on tips, which is contradictory, I guess. But there's no campaign policies on her website. They don't know what they're cheering for. You had Taylor Hansen at the convention asking what they're supporting. They have no answer. None whatsoever. They're like, she's just a good leader and, Trump's going to take our freedoms. They have no idea what they're supporting. So you may not like the guy, but this is not your typical Obama versus McCain day or whatever, where McCain's like, no, my opponent's a good man. We just disagree on a few issues. It's literally an installed candidate and voting for a system in which they do not actually have real representation of the American people and voting for a system that does.
It's the first time in my life I've ever felt like I'm actually voting to resist imperial authoritarianism. Like it's more clear than ever that the liberal economic order is like a British-centric American Five Eyes empire. That is, they stopped calling themselves the British Empire in 1997. They rebranded as the United Kingdom now or whatever. King of Kings he is now. Xerxes, he's like the emperor still, Charles. And it's like, we got to shake it loose. The Federal Reserve was like a strategy for the bankers to take control. The business plot in 1933, I think it was, they wanted to overthrow the government, install fascist dictatorship in the U.S., failed. Smedley Butler wouldn't go for it. But we got to shake loose. And I think it's civil disobedience is the way loose. I don't think we can actively, aggressively knock it loose. And the British are great allies to be, human wise, we're very good. We're very friendly with the British. I like every English guy I know, pretty much I get along with for the most part.
Looks like, sorry, riots are starting to break out right now.
What's going on?
Police are fighting with protesters. This is 10 minutes ago. Unsurprising. Sorry.
Yeah, who knows if it's a controlled opposition, what's going on, but I'm sure it'll develop as it goes on.
No, I think there are serious protesters who have issues with the Democratic Party. They just happen to be from the left. Well, the left doesn't, the mainstream media doesn't talk about the fact that it's left-wing people protesting.
This is it. This is the imperial authoritarian. They're trying to conquer the Middle East, and people on both sides of the aisle a lot of people don't want that, and they want it to stop too.
And right, so what happens? George W. Bush and Barack Obama represent very little difference to me. Obama carried out the same policies, destabilizing the Middle East. Under George W. Bush, you get Iraq and Afghanistan. Under Barack Obama, you got what? You got Libya, you got Syria, you got more Afghanistan. I mean, it exacerbated quite a bit. You got the rise of ISIS. Donald Trump comes in, done. No new wars, troop withdrawals, peace agreements. Trump was not supposed to win, and we can all plainly see it. Decades of military expansion. I mean, Desert Storm, you go back decades. And the liberal economic order, H.W. Bush, all these people knew exactly what they wanted and exactly what they were doing, and we got it. And then Trump comes in and goes, no, we're shutting that down. And they lost their minds. They said he's a traitor. He's a Russian spy. He should destroy America. Vote for Kamala Harris, like a vote for Joe Biden, is to restore American imperial expansion. And a vote for Donald Trump is to rescind it. Donald Trump's not perfect on the issue. Dave Smith is. Dave Smith is the guy who, if he actually ran, does everything we'd hope for in terms of foreign policy. Donald Trump is the guy who gets us marginally better off than we were before. Abraham Accords, I thought were good. Dave disagrees, but I think they were good. He got other peace agreements. He tried to bring peace to the Korean Peninsula. He did a great job in these areas. And they said he was writing love letters to dictators. Yeah, it's called trying to get peace. Trying to get peace. You say, I don't know or care about what North Korea is doing. We're backing off because we don't want to be at war with you anymore. We want war to stop, and we want economic relations to normalize. And North Korea says, okay, let's figure out what we have to do to make that happen. And they go, no, because the military-industrial complex wants conquests. And Trump didn't. Trump wanted to shore up America's defenses, get better trade agreements, help the working people in this country. And they come out and they say he only cared about himself. It's just laughably absurd, dude. Anyone with half a brain can realize that the only benefit Trump got from any of this was ego. And if you want to argue Trump's got an ego, I would agree with you. His name is on a bunch of buildings around the world, but he lost billions. If he really just wanted to make himself better off, he'd be swimming. He'd be on a yacht with his big old belly with a beer resting on top of it in the Mediterranean eating grapes. Instead, he's like, I'm going to go to war with the deep state because I like America. He likes the admiration he gets. That's obvious. He likes being a celebrity. That's obvious. But the idea that he doesn't actually care about what he's doing is stupid. And I also heard someone say doing the right thing for the wrong reasons is wrong. And I'm just like, maybe, but you should still do it. You know, if there was a guy who's like, a burning building, I hear children screaming. If I save those kids, people are going to make me a hero.
I'm going to get on the nightly news.
I'm going to get on the news. Yeah. And then he rescues 2 children from a burning building. I'm going to be like, why did you do it, sir? And he goes, because I knew if I saved those kids, I'd be famous. I'd be like, yes, absolutely. Thank you for being motivated to risk your life for whatever that reason may be. We can disagree with your motivations, but you did save 2 kids. And that would actually be a really interesting story. So if Donald Trump really is in it for those reasons, but he's doing good, and he hopes that in 20 years everyone claps and builds golden statues of him, great, I'll take it.
I may be crazy, but I actually find him to be more altruistic than that. I don't think it's just I agree with you. He's got an ego. I think he enjoys attention and fame. I don't think that's why I think he really
Trump on big buildings everywhere.
I know, but I think that he could feed his ego and his need for fame in $1 million. He could do another reality show. He could, he doesn't need to do this.
You're right. And I will point out, Trump, look, I think you can go back to when Trump was a kid. He wasn't getting the attention he as a child, perhaps, maybe psychoanalyzing an 80-year-old man. I'm only 30. I have no idea, but I can tell you this. Trump loves it when people like him. That's a good thing. Trump lines up his employees and hands them $100 bills. And they're like, we love this guy. He gives us bonuses. And he's like, I'm glad you do. I want you to be happy and I want you to like me. What's wrong with that? Trump wants to be liked. He wants everyone. He wants to feel like people know he is. If he was a genocidal maniac who was like, I'm going to build a gigantic, 200-foot golden statue of myself and enslave people, I'd be like, that's a bad person. But if Trump is like, I know how to make everybody love me. I'm going to improve the economy, secure our borders, bring jobs back.
Evil
peace.
Man.
Yep.
No, I think it's true. Trump likes to be like, I actually feel like for a lot of politicians, you have to want the spotlight. Like it would be very difficult to have this type of career if you weren't interested in that at all. And I think it's true. Like Trump is very generous with the staff. There are stories about him giving out money and stuff. But I think if you look at his relationship with his grandchildren, right? Like he actually has fostered very positive relationships from what I can see. I mean, his granddaughter spoke at the convention and seemed positive. She's super into golf. She just signed with the University of Miami, right? Like there are things about him that, are obvious that he wants to be like. On the other hand, I think he can authentically win people over, and I'm not sure that's true for everyone else who's in politics. I don't
know why people think it's a bad thing that you say Trump has an ego and that he wants people to like him. There are people that want to have this vision of him that he's just a noble soul and a saint. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be liked. Donald Trump putting his name and brand everywhere and wanting recognition for his work is not bad or wrong in any way. And he's going about getting that attention by trying to help people. I don't think it's pure altruism where he's like, I will sacrifice everything for the fate of humanity. He's saying it feels good to be liked and recognized for doing good things. Like he's doing good things. And I think a part of his motivation is that he wants people to know he wants people to know who he is. I think that's totally, completely fine. It's a fine motivation to have. You want to be recognized for your hard work. So Trump is like, I know how to get recognition. I'll help as many people as I can. I'll sacrifice, work really, really hard, and then they'll recognize me. And I'm like, yes, they absolutely will.
But I think that if it's your ego and your need for attention, there comes a point where when they're trying to put you in prison for the rest of your life or shooting you in the head or whatever, that you might be like, you know what, I don't need attention this much or whatever. I mean, the fact that he continues to go forward despite all these things, I just have to believe that he really wants to help people.
I agree that he wants to help people, but I think a part of his motivation that is that he wants people to like
the country.
I think he's like a lawful neutral, and that his alignment's been changing, and it could have gone evil, but it's been changing towards good the last 4 years or 5 years, and like he's becoming more altruistic. Like he's having a spiritual awakening. You can see it in his face and in his voice. But after the assassination attempt, like he's a different human being.
He said he did, And but to your point, I don't think it's when he nearly gets shot and killed. I wouldn't say it's his altruism that keeps him going. I would say it's his strength. Donald Trump is a man who appreciates being recognized for his hard work, for his capabilities. I think that's a strong piece of what motivates him. Like putting his name as his brand shows. He wants people to know he's the one who's doing this. I think he wants to go about doing it by helping people. That's why even before he ran for president, he's famous for walking up to his employees and handing out $100 bills to them. He's like, I want you to know and respect the work that I do, the hard work that I do, and I want you to be better off for it. Here's $100. It is a component of it. And when they nearly kill him and they attack him, it's the strength that got him to that point that makes him stand up and say, now I'm doubling down. So I don't have this view in my mind of Donald Trump as being like, I will sacrifice all that I have for the betterment of mankind. No, he's like, I know what I'm doing. I know what's going to work. I know what can help people. I know how to run companies. People need to recognize this for more than just ego. It's also about knowing when a leader is good and recognizing that person should be in charge. Yep. And then when they come after him, now it's, you want to screw with me? You better not miss.
Something I've noticed about ego is like, sometimes it's the most egotistical thing you can do is to not use your body for its greatest purpose, is to hide and let yourself just be safely unknown. That's ego. That's ego taking over and keeping your body safe. And
I agree.
To make yourself famous is a big sacrifice. To be known by so many people because you're going to be hated by a lot of them. That's a huge sacrifice.
I was having a conversation earlier with Richie about this skateboarder and the varying degrees of fame that exist. There's global notoriety, like Donald Trump. The man cannot go out for breakfast without a security detail and someone watching the chef. And that's torturous. People need to understand, like, there's a lot of people who seem to think like, oh, it must be so great to live this way. There's a reason why Donald Trump eats McDonald's. Do you guys know what it is?
Yeah. Does he still?
Yes.
I hope he cut it out of his
You know
diet.
why? No. You know why?
Because it's prepackaged.
Exactly. Because they can walk into a fast food restaurant and there's a burger sitting that was made before and he goes, that one. Because if he goes in and he says, I want a Big Mac, someone's going to spit in it. Someone's going to screw with him just to be the one who got Trump, whether they like him or don't like him, because people are nuts. So people make fun of him and say, he's eating McDonald's again. Yeah, because if he tells someone to go pick up McDonald's, nobody screws with it. They have standards and regulations. And he sends a guy in says, I need 5 Big Mac meals. Then he walks in, boom, fast food. Trump goes to a restaurant, and he does, but he's got to have security with him. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.